Y'all, y'all ready for this? Yeah.
What is up, world? Welcome to What We Watched. I am Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. And today we are talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now, to put this into framework, I love Godzilla. Love basically any sort of kaiju movie, and Godzilla obviously is the king of the kaiju. And kaiju just means big beast, big monster. And so this movie literally was on par with like Avengers Endgame in the spectrum of movies I was excited for this summer. And so going into this movie, I had super high expectations. I was a big fan of the 2014 version of Godzilla, and I was excited. And even Kong Skull Island I really enjoyed, which is a part of this universe. And so I enjoyed that, not as much as 2014, but I enjoyed it. And so going into this movie, I was really excited to see what they were going to do. And so the big thing that I want to get across in this review, which is completely spoiler free, if you haven't seen it, you can watch this, and I will not give anything away. So spoiler free. So if you watch 2014 Godzilla and this, they are two opinions and two sides of a story, two sides of a coin. 2014, one of the biggest complaints was that you did not see the monster enough. If you put it all together, I believe that you saw Godzilla for a combined time, obviously 30 seconds here, a minute here, for about 8 minutes of the total movie, which seems like a very small amount. But the original movie that came out, the original Japanese movie, I believe that Gojira was only on screen for about 8 minutes to 9 minutes as well. So it's kind of going back to that root, and I honestly don't have a problem with that because I feel like there's a lot of suspense in that. I feel like a lot of great horror movies or great suspense movies, you'll just see a little bit here. I remember there was a shot in the 2014 where you see this destruction and you just see his tail go around because it adds to this epic feel when that reveal finally happens. This movie, King of the Monsters, is the other side of that coin. They listened to some of that critique and some of that criticism, and they just throw it all at you. This movie is an experience from the number of monsters that you come in contact with. I know that some people didn't like the Mutos, which is a very minor kaiju. With Godzilla, they throw everything at you. You get Mothra, you get Rodan, you get King Ghidorah, you get all of these monsters coming at you in full force, which I loved. I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the ride that it kind of put you on, the experience that it put you on from start to finish. It just goes at you, and there wasn't as much buildup, which sometimes hurts the storytelling. But overall, it was a great, great adventure. One of my favorite parts, and once again, this isn't spoilers, it's been in the trailers, but Rodan, that fight scene or his scene that he's in is phenomenal. King Ghidorah does a great job of being epic. Mothra does a great job of being epic. I feel like they did a phenomenal job of having all of these characters who we've seen movie after movie after movie, having them all be a part of this story and nail them and just do a spectacular job of bringing these characters to life in an epic and unique way, that they're not all just big giant lizards smashing into each other, but they are unique characters almost with personalities and characteristics that you can recognize as they are on the screen. So the negatives about this movie are, one, if the characters or the humans in Godzilla 2014 were paper thin, these ones are at least cardstock thin. So they're still paper thin, just a little bit better. So the acting is pretty good. There's a lot of expendable characters. I would say there's probably 2 to 3 to 4 main human characters. And then there's about like 10 who if you ask me any of their names, I don't know. I know the actors' names, and I know what they did in the movie, but they're in a few scenes, and you're supposed to know who they are, but like if they blew up or if they were to never show up on the screen again, it wouldn't really matter to me. So kind of thin, but in a lot of kaiju movies and a lot of Godzilla movies, they're there to be the exposition, and they're there to kind of be that thread that kind of connects all of these monsters together. And I think that it does an effective job of that. A little bit lazy, a little bit, cut by the numbers as far as the humans go. But a lot of people aren't coming to these movies to see the humans, and the script and the great dialogue, but they're here to see the monsters, the interactions with the monsters, and all of that. And I think that this movie succeeds at doing that. So like I said, this is the opposite side of the coin where there is just monster after monster. Once again, I can't speak enough about how great one of my favorites, Rodan, is. It just so good. And I really, really enjoyed the universe that they are setting up. A lot of times movies fail in cinematic universes because they focus so much on what's going to come, in this case, Godzilla versus King Kong, that they drop the ball on what we're currently watching. This movie does not do that. It drops little sprinkles and little hints of what's to come in building out this universe, but at the same time, you are fully in on this movie. So like I said, the negatives, the dialogue isn't that great. The humans are not that great. And you kind of, and the last thing that's not that great is you kind of lose the epicness at points because it's just coming at you the whole time. It's almost like you become numb to it, or you just don't appreciate it as much once you're an hour and a half into it. 2014 Godzilla, when he was finally there in that last 30 minutes, you were on board and you were psyched because he was finally there. No more teases, but here is the whole enchilada. But the problem with this is you get the whole enchilada, and then you get another enchilada, and then you get a burrito, and then you get some chalupas, and then you get a quesadilla, and eventually you're just like, I'm kind of full. Like, I mean, this is great, this is fantastic, but it's just so much. And in the 2014 Godzilla, you had these big, like, it was like an aircraft carrier sized leg just... And it felt like slow and lumbering just because of the massive size of it. And I feel like sometimes in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you lose that spectacle. It's no longer impressive that people are smashing through entire skyscrapers because we've been doing that for an hour and a half and they're all huge and they're all massive. And so that kind of wears off a little bit. So that's probably... That and the people are probably one of my bigger complaints. But it is a perfect summer movie. Go. Get a big tub of popcorn and a big soda and just hold on and enjoy the ride. I would highly recommend. I just saw this on a GDX screen, which is kind of like a just bigger screen. But I fully anticipate seeing this in IMAX, probably in 3D. And this is actually one of the few movies, if you have access to it, I would maybe even recommend trying D-Box, where it shakes your chair and everything, because this is basically a ride. It's an event, it's an attraction, and it just goes from the start. And so it's very exciting, it's very fun. And if you were one of those people who thought maybe Godzilla just needed a little bit more monster and a little bit more fighting and a little bit more action, this is that movie. If you liked the slower pacing and the teasing that the 2014 Godzilla gave us, I mean, you still get some of those moments, but at the same time, this is, like I said, the other side of that coin. So depending on what side of the coin you're on, you will either like this movie or love this movie. But I would definitely recommend that you go see it and you see it in theaters. This is not a thing that you want to see on your phone. This is something you definitely want to see on the biggest, baddest, loudest screen possible. Well, that's my review for Godzilla, King of the Monsters. What did you guys think? Did you guys see it this weekend? Are you planning on seeing it this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to know more about what I thought about this movie, on Monday we do a podcast with me and JC. We will fully break down our full thoughts on this movie, spoiler filled, and so be sure to come back on Monday, normally early afternoon, and we will have that posted, and we would love for you guys to share your thoughts, your spoilery after you've seen the movie thoughts on that podcast. So make sure you come back and check that out. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. It truly does help us out when you guys do that. We really do appreciate it. As always, I am Matt, and thanks for watching.
Y'all ready for this?